Does stress affect mental and emotional health? Damn skippy it does. Absolutely. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about why, and I'll give you a few ideas on how you can address it. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, partners, the world changes. All right, so stress. What is stress? Well, stress is outside influences. Sometimes it's physical. Usually it's going to be more of emotional, or it'll be psychological stress that we're seeing. And right now, with what's going on with the geopolitics of the world, with the economy, with everything that's on the social platforms, with the elections and all this other stuff, there is so much stress that if you're not careful, if you allow that to impact you, holy smokes, it can impact you in so many counterproductive ways. Not just your mental health, but your emotional health and your physical health. There's going to be a full interaction with all of these. So the way that I like to look at this is if you imagine a deer in the woods. Deer running along, all good, happy, suddenly a mountain lion. I live at 10,000 feet in the Colorado, so we have these critters. But if a mountain lion shows up and the deer's like, oh, that's like ultimate stress right there. Full adrenaline dump, everything happens. That deer hammers and runs away. Now the deer gets away safely most of the time, believe it or not, but deer gets away, it's gonna be shaken. It is so filled with stress and all that. But the beautiful thing is 10 minutes later, it's all gone. And that deer's just grazing and everything's happy, everything's good. Because it came up when it was needed and then ran away. As humans, we still have that response wired in us. Now, we don't have to worry about saber-toothed cats and for most of us, certain parts of the world we still do. We don't have to worry about people coming over that hill and taking all of our stuff. So we don't need to have that. But evolutionary, we still have it. We still have those impacts. So, and what's worse though, is humans are the only animals on the planet that have the ability to think themselves into that state. So if you think about it, there's been times where, I know I'm guilty of this, it's 2 a.m. I've woken up and I've allowed my brain to lose control, and I start worrying about something. And something comes in, and before I know it, I am just filled with stress. I have been able to dump an immense amount of cortisol into my own brain, self-induced, thinking about this. And when that happens, well, there is a cascade of negative things that physically happen to us from the hormone. Our hormone levels get completely out of whack. And then when that happens, we start transitioning into these reactive states. We end up, it impacts our sleep, it impacts our diet, it impacts all sorts of crazy things. So how this starts to happen, so this is where we need to be able to start to take control and manage that. And we have videos on other ones on the site, on this channel. And if you want, we talk about some of these things at lifeon-yourterms.com. And we help people start to transition how they're looking at things in a different way. But this is important whether you're the CEO of an organization or you're an at-home parent. Full cross-section, or a college student, full cross-section. How you start to manage these things is important. Now, what are the outcomes of that is that usually when we get to that point, we end up in a very reactive state. And we want to transition from a reactive to a proactive state. When you start thinking about your mental and emotional health, if you're in a reactive state with mental health or emotional health, it's not going to work out well. It's okay for a while, but if that starts happening in relationships and things, so we talk about how to slow down and breathe, how to manage that, how to focus on gratitudes and attitudes with that. And there's another video they just did, it's how to maintain a positive attitude in stressful times, that addresses all of these things. But you see these things, and it's amazing how when you get flooded with that, the impact it can have on you, the negative impact. I've been doing a health study in a beta for some guys out at Stanford, and one of the things is I wore a glucose monitor, which is sort of like if you're diabetic, you put it on and then you can check with your phone to see what happens. And the biggest takeaway for me from that, I'm not diabetic, but what was most fascinating to me was that in checking and seeing where my glucose was, I noticed a specific physical and mental impact on me was that during high periods of stress, my sugar would drop, and I would crash. Even if I'd had the same diet the day before, it was actually impacting the way my sugar was. And as a result, I might become cranky. I might get emotional. I might get reactive. I might actually turn into a dick, which I didn't like, but I mean, it's the truth. So I was actually, my blood sugar, my physical body was reacting to stress in different ways, which is a result of the cortisol. So you start thinking about how can you manage these things? How does that specifically going to impact your mental? Well, it's going to, from a mental perspective, it's going to impact your sleep, which is one of the number one things absolutely that you have to manage. When I work with public CEOs, that's where we start, is how are you sleeping? But then you're going to likely transition into a reactive state rather than proactive, which usually isn't a positive place to be. It's a lot of times you're going to get emotional. You're going to end up losing control of a lot of outcomes, and it just starts to spiral and spin. So how you transition, again, there's other videos on this that can help with that, let alone the physical pieces with this. The weight, which has impacts on your physical and emotional health, sleeping, like I said, but even your diet and what you're craving and things of those natures. So long story short is does stress affect mental and emotional health? Man, without any doubt. And how does it help you, or how does it impact it? It's really integrated with the physical. And where are you at when you start getting those dumps of extra hormones in it? So ideally you found some value with this. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out. Or if you have questions about our courses and what we do to help people live a healthy, integrated life, you're welcome to go to lifeon-yourterms.com. Thank you. Keep smiling.